You've been waiting for something. Not just news, not just change, not even a miracle. You've been waiting for a sign that your soul is still seen, that your silent cries didn't vanish unanswered into some forgotten corner of heaven, that the weight you've carried, alone, unspoken, is not invisible to the one who made you. You need to hear this now, because time is running thin on your endurance. You don't need more empty encouragement. You don't need another person telling you it will get better. You need to know that God is here, in this moment, in your room, in your breath, in the very battle you thought you had to fight alone. The chaos in your mind isn't unseen. The tears behind your forced smile aren't ignored. Heaven has heard, and tonight something changes. He is not speaking from a distance. He is not waiting behind a veil of religious rituals or silent ceilings. He has entered your space. He has stepped into the ache. And he refuses to let you walk through this darkness unguarded. You didn't notice it at first. How softly he came. How quietly he settled beside your fears. But now listen, that stillness isn't emptiness. That weight lifting from your chest isn't imagination. It's him, right now, with you, for you. Stay here, because what you're about to hear could change everything. Stop running in circles. Stop pretending you're fine. Stop burying the ache beneath the routine. Tonight is not like other nights, because God has stepped into the room. You don't need to light a candle. You don't need to recite a perfect prayer. You don't even need to prove how faithful you've been. He came because he heard what no one else heard, the breaking sound beneath your breath, the silent weeping beneath your smile, the exhaustion you have behind tasks and deadlines and fake optimism. God doesn't need permission to enter the places where your pain lives. He isn't bound by walls or time or circumstances. He came because your soul cried louder than your voice ever could. The world didn't notice. They saw the version of you you've practiced well, held together by sheer habit, smiling when expected, performing strength like it was your job. But when the lights went off, when the doors closed, when you stared into the dark ceiling and wondered if anyone still cared, he was already in the room, close enough to hear what you couldn't say, close enough to catch what you thought was falling apart, close enough to still the storms you couldn't name. This isn't a random moment. It's not coincidence. This is divine intervention. And it's urgent because your faith has been running thin. Your heart has been carrying battles it was never meant to fight alone. And heaven has decided it ends tonight. No more pretending you're okay. No more running from what needs healing. He's not offering comfort from a distance. He's offering himself, his presence, his voice, his hands where no human hand could ever reach. How long have you been praying for rescue, but still preparing for disappointment? How long have you convinced yourself maybe the silence meant no? How many times did you doubt that you mattered enough for God to interrupt everything just for you? Yet here he is, interrupting, because he refuses to let this night end with you still believing you're forgotten. You cried without words. You begged without form. You wrestled without witnesses. But none of it was lost, none of it unnoticed. Heaven has been watching, waiting, listening, and now heaven is moving. Right now, in this moment, he leans in closer than breath, and he says, "Be still, I am here." And this changes everything. The weight pressing on your chest, it wasn't your imagination. The ache beneath your ribs, it wasn't weakness. The tears you wiped quickly because you thought they were too much, they were not wasted. Not one drop missed his attention. Not one sigh escaped his notice. You thought you were drowning quietly beneath the noise of life, but he was the unseen hand holding you up the entire time. He stayed, not because you earned it, not because you proved you deserved it. He stayed because love doesn't leave. You prayed for breakthrough, but what you needed more was presence, not an answer, not a sign, not a shortcut. You needed God himself to step in, and that's exactly what he's done. Right now, in this silence where the world keeps spinning, he speaks what your heart forgot how to believe. You are not too broken. You are not too much. You are not too late. This is not just encouragement. This is not poetic comfort. This is rescue. This is intervention. This is deliverance wrapped in stillness, carried by unseen arms. The panic behind your eyes didn't scare him off. The shame you couldn't name didn't change his mind. The failures you rehearse again and again didn't alter his plan. He is not here to shame you. He is not here to accuse you. He is not here to remind you of everything you did wrong. He is here to remind you of who you are, loved, chosen, kept, worth saving, worth staying for, worth fighting for. The enemy thought silence would convince you were alone, but God uses silence differently. In silence, he speaks louder than fear. In stillness, he moves deeper than wounds. In hidden moments like this, he rewrites what comes next. So stop, listen, stay here. Let him finish what he came to do. You don't need to clean yourself up to be worthy of this moment. You don't need to earn your way back into his favor. He never left. He never withdrew. He's been waiting for you to stop running long enough to realize. He's been holding you the whole time. The lights were off. The doors were closed. And yet, he was already preparing this very moment. A holy interruption. A divine appointment. The answer you didn't know how to ask for. Because what breaks you invites him closer, not further. What wounds you draws his attention, not his distance. What you thought disqualified you has only positioned you for this. A fresh encounter, a new beginning. Right now, chains you've worn too long are breaking. Lies you believed too deeply are unraveling. Weights you thought you had to carry forever are lifting. Because he doesn't come empty-handed. He comes with healing in his breath. He comes with restoration in his voice. He comes with breakthrough wrapped in his presence. You thought you were suffocating beneath sadness, but he has been breathing peace over you in the places no one else could reach. You wondered if your prayers were too broken to count, but he was counting every tear as sacred currency in heaven's vault. You feared you might never rise again, but he's already begun rebuilding what you thought was too far gone. This isn't the end of your story. This is a turning point. The moment where sorrow begins to lose its grip. The hour where hope starts to sound louder than fear. The night where darkness is told it cannot stay. Because he stepped in. Because he stayed. Because he's still speaking. Because he refuses to let you leave this room unchanged. So listen again. Let these words anchor you. I have seen every silent battle. I have heard every hidden cry. I have answered every unspoken prayer. You are not alone. This is not fiction. This is not imagination. This is heaven touching earth. This is the sacred intersection of your need and his nearness. And from this moment forward, nothing stays the same. He's already moving in the unseen, already shifting what felt immovable, already breaking through what seemed impossible. Stay, because breakthrough doesn't come to the hurried. Healing doesn't happen in rushed moments. Freedom arrives when you finally pause long enough to receive it. So breathe, be still, and know he is God, and he is here for you right now. Stop explaining yourself to people who never understood the war inside your soul. Stop replaying conversations in your head. Try and make sense of their silence. Stop looking for approval where God never sent affirmation. You've carried these invisible wounds long enough. The battle wasn't just against what happened to you. It was against what those moments tried to make you believe. That you're unseen, that you're unheard, that your quiet breakdown behind closed doors didn't matter to heaven. But here's the truth heaven wants you to understand tonight. God has been in the room the entire time, not watching from a distance, not observing from the safety of heaven, but sitting close enough to catch the tears you didn't even let fall. He wasn't waiting for you to phrase it perfectly. He wasn't waiting for you to pray like the righteous. He was already moving toward the trembling part of you, the place where exhaustion met silence, the place where hope ran thin but didn't quite disappear. When you collapsed into the sheets too tired to care if tomorrow came, he was there. When your heart pounded in the dark without reason or mercy, he stayed. When you whispered under your breath for help, but weren't sure anyone heard, he answered, "You're not too far gone. I am still writing your story." Stop asking yourself why the storm keeps circling back. Some storms don't return because of failure. Some storms return because something holy is being birthed in the struggle. Your midnight pacing, your silent prayers, your weary sighs, they were never wasted moments. They were signals to heaven, and heaven answered by sending not just relief, but God Himself into your space, into your pain, into your now. You think you're waiting for breakthrough, but God is waiting for surrender, not the surrender of defeat, the surrender of belief, the kind that finally says, God, if you are here, then I will stay still long enough for you to finish what you started. The reason fear feels louder lately isn't because you're losing. It's because you're closer than ever to stepping into something new. And fear always fights hardest at the threshold of breakthrough. But fear doesn't write your future. God does. He didn't bring you this far to abandon you now. He didn't sit in a room with your broken heart to leave it shattered. He didn't gather every silent prayer just to ignore them at the finish line. What looks like delay to you has been preparation in heaven's timing. What feels like silence to you has been strategy in the unseen. Because the answer is never far when His presence is this near. You've misunderstood the silence. It wasn't rejection. It wasn't punishment. It wasn't evidence that God grew weary of you. It was a stillness where deeper healing takes root. It was a pause where your strength had to end, so His strength could begin. He stayed through your shaking. He stayed through your questions. He stayed through your doubt, because love doesn't leave. And He isn't here for your performance. He's here for your heart, even the pieces you stopped showing to anyone else. This room isn't cursed with loneliness. It's saturated with holy ground, because God stepped in. And where He is, peace follows. Where He is, healing breathes again. Where He is, hope resurrects from ashes. You thought you needed answers. What you really needed was presence, not temporary comfort, not religious cliches, but the steady, unshakable presence of the God who holds time and pain and redemption in His hand. He's not here to offer vague encouragement. He's here to rewrite the narrative you almost gave up on. I saw every moment you almost gave up. I stayed. I carried. I prepared this moment to remind you I never stopped being God for you. You've tried to outrun sadness. You've tried to silence anxiety with distraction. You've buried exhaustion beneath responsibilities. But none of it healed you. Only His presence has that power. So stop, breathe, let Him into the places you closed off for too long. He's not afraid of your mess. He's not surprised by your questions. He's not ashamed of your weakness. He came to redeem what shame tried to bury. What aches beneath your ribs? What keeps you up at night rehearsing worst-case scenarios? What questions choke your faith when no one's around to see it? He knows. And still, He stays. Still, He speaks peace over panic. Still, He places His hand on the parts of you that ache without explanation. Because healing doesn't begin in loud declarations. It begins in stillness. It begins in rooms like this. It begins when you finally believe God didn't leave. He's here, and He's not done. So stop measuring your worth by how well you hold yourself together. Stop rehearsing old failures like they define you. Stop wondering if you've missed too many chances. Nothing about your brokenness disqualifies you from His love. If anything, it draws Him nearer, because He doesn't show up for the perfect. He shows up for the desperate, the ones who whisper help in the dark, the ones who still show up, trembling but present, the ones who are tired of pretending they're fine. He came for you, not the version of you you try to impress others with, not the version of you who masks fear with busyness, but the version you are right now, unpolished, weary, honest. That's who He blesses. That's who He stays for. That's who He heals. Stay here a little longer. Let Him finish what He started. Let Him remind you, this isn't how your story ends. I have collected every tear. I have heard every hidden cry. I have answered every unspoken prayer. I am here for you. I will not leave until this room feels different because of me. And when tomorrow comes, you'll walk lighter. Not because everything changed overnight, but because something shifted inside you tonight. Because peace isn't found in circumstances. Peace is found in presence. And presence has already filled the room. Enough hiding. Enough pretending that strength means silence. Enough telling yourself this is just how it has to be now. Because tonight, heaven has declared this is not your permanent place. Pain may have settled in, but healing has come knocking. You weren't made to survive in a state of quiet despair. You weren't created to build a life around wounds you refuse to look at. God didn't breathe His Spirit into you, so you could learn to function through numbness. He came to rewrite what pain tried to script over your future. You think you're falling apart. But falling apart in His presence isn't failure. It's the beginning of freedom. What you thought would break you is actually making room for something new. The ache is real, yes. The exhaustion is heavy. The waiting has been long. But none of it will be wasted, because where others turn away, God turned toward. Where others grew tired of your process, God leaned in closer. Where others failed to understand, God wrote answers in silence. You believed a lie too long, that you're alone, unseen, and too far gone. But tonight, heaven's truth breaks through. I never stopped seeing you. I never stopped choosing you. I never stopped calling you mine. The noise tried to drown that truth out. The chaos outside, the doubts within. But none of it changed His position. Beside you, with you, for you, He heard the prayers you never finished. He saw the tears you wiped away before anyone else noticed. He counted every sleepless night and stored each sigh like treasure, because brokenness never scared Him. If anything, it calls Him in closer. You don't have to hold it together for Him to show up. He isn't waiting for perfection. He's stepping into the mess with hands full of healing. This room you call your prison, He's calling it the starting place. The place where burdens fall off. The place where shame loses its grip. The place where silence gets interrupted by mercy. Right now, He's rebuilding you from the inside out, not just patching up the cracks, not just covering over the pain. He's restoring what you thought couldn't be restored. What sorrow tried to steal, joy is reclaiming. What fear tried to bury, faith is reviving. What regret tried to chain, grace is breaking free. You thought you needed answers. What you really needed was truth. And here it is, wrapped in the voice of the one who never left. You are not finished. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. Stop letting old wounds tell you who you are. Stop letting yesterday's failures define tomorrow's possibility. Stop shrinking beneath the weight of what others couldn't understand. Because God understands. God sees beneath the surface. God hears the cries no one else catches. He's not intimidated by your pain. He's not impatient with your process. He's not here to hurry you along. He's here to heal. Completely, thoroughly, eternally. The darkness thought it had the final say. But darkness doesn't write the story when God steps into the room. Light wins. Truth speaks louder. Peace settles deeper. And you rise again. Not because you tried harder. Not because circumstances shifted overnight. But because something eternal touched the fragile places inside you and whispered, "Live again." You've carried burdens too heavy for too long. It's time to lay them down. It's time to let His hands do what yours could not. You cannot outwork your way into wholeness. You can only surrender. And when you do, you'll find He was never asking for perfection. He was asking for permission to heal what you try to hide. He's not here to tally your mistakes. He's here to restore your strength. Let Him reach the places you thought were too ruined. Let Him breathe life where you thought only ruins remained. Let Him show you this is not the end. This is the beginning. Stay here a little longer. Let His presence do what no words can. Let His peace settle where anxiety once lived. Let His truth uproot every lie you believed. Because this isn't just about tonight. This is about every tomorrow that waits on the other side of surrender. And heaven refuses to let you step into that future still carrying yesterday's chains. Stop running from the stillness. Stop fearing the silence like it holds your defeat. Stop telling yourself healing isn't for people like you. Tonight is holy ground. Not because you earned it, but because God declared it. This isn't just any night. This is the night God refused to let you drown beneath your own sorrow. The night He stepped in, not with judgment, but with mercy. Not to remind you of your failures, but to remind you of His faithfulness. He's not asking you to figure it out. He's not asking you to fix what's broken. He's asking you to let go, to release what was never yours to carry alone, to trust that His presence is enough to hold you through the unraveling. You thought you were holding everything together, but it's been His unseen hands beneath yours the whole time. Holding, carrying, catching. The pressure you felt wasn't punishment. It was the weight of promises preparing to unfold. The heaviness wasn't a sign you were losing. It was the sound of chains breaking beneath the surface. Because something shifts when God enters a room. Not always loud, not always immediate, but always certain. He didn't come for the applause. He didn't come for the polished version of you. He came for the real you, the weary you, the aching you, the one who almost gave up believing rescue would come. And He says, this is not how your story ends. You're not too lost for redemption. You're not too late for restoration. You're not too broken for His rebuilding. Stop asking why it took so long. Some healings require deeper roots. Some breakthroughs demand silent seasons where faith is strengthened beneath the soil. He didn't waste a single moment, not one tear, not one question, not one lonely night. Everything you thought was burying you was actually planting you deeper in His purpose. The ache you couldn't explain, He understood every heartbeat of it. The prayers you never finished, He heard every fragment. The fear you hid beneath forced smiles, He stood between you and the darkness every time. Because He's never been distant. He's never been disengaged. He's never been late. He's been writing deliverance into your days long before you recognized it. He's been weaving healing into your breath long before you named it hope. He's been standing guard over your purpose when you thought purpose had passed you by. Tonight is not ordinary. Tonight, heaven marks your space with victory. No more hiding. No more shrinking beneath shame's shadow. No more carrying wounds like they define you. You are not what happened to you. You are who God says you are, restored, redeemed, resurrected. He's not here to patch you up and send you limping forward. He's here to rebuild you so thoroughly that even your scars will sing of His goodness. Because what the enemy used to press you down, God will use to raise you up. This is not punishment. This is preparation, not for survival, but for thriving, for stepping fully into the future He's been guarding for you. Let Him finish this work. Let Him silence every voice that told you healing wasn't possible. Let Him show you how loved you've been in every unnoticed moment. You didn't wander beyond His reach. You didn't cry beyond His hearing. You didn't break beyond His repair. He is here, still, faithful, unmoved by your weakness, unchanged by your doubt, unstoppable in His love for you. Stay, breathe. Let Him remind you who you've always been beneath the weight of fear. His held home in His heart. Enough fear. Enough letting old voices speak louder than truth. Enough wondering if this is as good as it gets. Because heaven isn't standing silent anymore. Tonight, heaven leans closer than ever before. Not to watch you suffer, but to remind you God still holds your name in His hands. Your cries didn't go unnoticed. Your battles weren't invisible. Your silent breakdown behind locked doors didn't happen alone. Every tear whispered your name into the halls of eternity. Every sigh became a prayer heaven refused to ignore. You thought you were losing ground, but what you didn't see, God was surrounding you with victory long before you felt it. Stop measuring hope by what you see. Start believing in what's been promised, because His promises don't expire. They don't fade with time. They don't crumble under pressure. His word says, "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Psalm 34, verse 18. That wasn't poetry. That was prophecy written into the fabric of your life. You thought your heart broke unnoticed, but heaven counted every fracture, and God moved closer with every crack. He didn't come to fix you fast. He came to heal you deep, not surface-level comfort, not temporary relief, but healing so complete it rewrites the atmosphere of your soul. What tried to break you is now bowing to the one who holds you. What tried to silence you is now silenced by the voice of truth. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not abandoned. Heaven stood still tonight because your heart matters that much. Your story matters that much. Your healing matters that much. The waiting wasn't wasted. The silence wasn't punishment. The pain wasn't pointless. It all led here, to this moment, where God interrupts despair with his presence, where he speaks what fear couldn't silence. You are mine. I will finish what I started in you. Stop apologizing for your weakness. Stop disqualifying yourself from love you never earned but always had. His love doesn't measure you by strength. It anchors you through storms. You've been afraid to hope again, afraid to trust again, afraid to believe again. But God isn't asking you to climb your way back. He's asking you to rest, to breathe, to let him carry what you can't. You don't have to figure out tomorrow. He's already there. You don't have to understand how healing works. He's already working. Stay in this moment. Let his presence quiet the panic. Let his nearness anchor your soul. Because peace isn't the absence of chaos. It's the presence of God in the middle of it. And right now, his presence fills this room, fills your lungs, fills the broken places with breath again. This isn't weakness. This is worship. The kind of surrender heaven responds to. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46, verse 10. You've tried running. You've tried hiding. You've tried holding it together. But freedom lives where you finally let go. Let go of what they said. Let go of what fear whispered. Let go of what shame shouted. Hold on only to truth. You are seen. You are chosen. You are loved beyond measure. Stop replaying the past like it holds your future. Stop clinging to memories that only remind you of what broke you. Stop measuring your worth by seasons you've already survived. This room isn't cursed by your failures. This room is blessed because God stepped in to begin again. You thought starting over was impossible. You thought healing was for others, not for you. You thought your mistakes disqualified you from miracles. But the God who writes beauty from ashes speaks louder than your regrets. He doesn't tally your failures. He gathers your fragments and rebuilds with precision. He doesn't ask for explanations. He asks for surrender. Because surrender is where he begins again. Right now, the atmosphere shifts, not because you earned it, but because grace refuses to leave you bound. You thought endings were permanent, but heaven calls this a doorway, not the finish, the foundation. Where you lost yourself, God restores identity. Where you forgot how to hope, he breathes dreams again. Where you doubted love could still reach you, he proves otherwise. His word says, "See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it?" Isaiah 43, verse 19. This is an imagination. This is holy interruption. This is the moment heaven reminds you. Beginnings often look like endings wrapped in grace. You weren't forgotten. You were being prepared. You weren't punished. You were being positioned for what's next, for what's better, for what only God could write beyond your broken chapters. Stop shrinking to fit spaces you've outgrown. Stop apologizing for wounds you didn't cause. Stop delaying healing because fear said it's too late. God isn't late. He's right on time. And he's here, in this room, rewriting the story you almost gave up believing in. He doesn't ask you to fake strength. He asks you to trust his. Trust the process. Trust the timing. Trust the unseen hand moving mountains you can't even name. What felt delayed is now divinely aligned. What felt heavy is now held by holy arms. What felt final is now fertile ground for resurrection. Stay still long enough to feel the shift, to hear the truth louder than your inner critic, to let his peace settle deeper than anxiety ever could. This isn't punishment. This is providence, not the end. The evidence of newness breaking through old soil. You've wept. You've waited. You've wondered if it mattered. It mattered to heaven. It mattered enough for God to pause eternity to meet you here, to speak over you what fear tried to silence. You are still worthy of beginnings. He's restoring what shame tried to steal. He's reviving what grief tried to bury. He's redeeming what darkness thought it owned. Let him carry the weight you weren't meant to bear alone. Let him show you what breaks you doesn't break his promises. You're not too broken for beauty. You're not too weary for wonder. You're not too late for love's redemption. Stay here. Let this moment mark you. Let this truth anchor you. You are still his, still held, still written into a future full of hope. Stop letting fear dictate the rhythm of your breath. Stop letting regret shape the outline of your days. Stop letting shame hold the pen that writes your future. Tonight, heaven leans closer again, not because you earned a second glance, but because God never looked away in the first place. You've wondered why the ache stayed this long. You questioned why breakthrough felt delayed. You've doubted if you were worthy of new beginnings. But hear this now. This isn't the delay of denial. It's the divine timing of deep healing. What takes root slowly often lasts the longest. What grows beneath the surface strengthens unseen. What's built in hidden places can't be easily broken. God wasn't ignoring your cries. He was answering in silence, preparing ground you didn't even know needed clearing, strengthening foundations beneath where you thought you'd already crumbled. His word says, He heals the brokenhearted and binds up their wounds. Psalm 147, verse 3. This isn't theory. This is promise. And tonight, it's happening for you. You thought healing meant forgetting the pain. But healing means the pain loses its power to define you. You thought moving forward meant pretending nothing hurt. But moving forward means acknowledging the ache and rising anyway, because God doesn't call you healed when you stop feeling. He calls you healed when His presence speaks louder than your wounds. Right now, His voice is louder, louder than shame, louder than regret, louder than every whisper that said you couldn't make it this far. You did. You're here, still breathing, still standing, still seen, still loved. The cracks didn't destroy you. They made space for light to enter. The breaking didn't ruin you. It revealed where rebuilding could begin. Stop waiting for others to validate your healing. Stop measuring progress by their timelines. Stop comparing your process to someone else's finish line. Your healing is holy because He's in it. Your journey is sacred because He never left. Let Him breathe into your weariness. Let Him speak life over dry bones. Let Him remind you, you were never meant to survive in pieces. You are whole, not because circumstances say so, but because His presence declares it. Stay here. Let His peace settle where panic used to live. Let His truth anchor where doubt tried to build. This isn't survival anymore. This is resurrection. This is redemption's quiet unfolding. This is the moment your heart learns to breathe again. You've been forgiven. You've been freed. You've been called forward. So go forward, not rushed, not forced, but led. Led by peace. Led by grace. Led by the one who carried you through every silent storm. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not finished. You are found. You are held. You are loved. Stop fearing the quiet. Stop assuming silence means abandonment. Stop letting the lack of noise convince you nothing is happening. Because heaven's greatest works often unfold in stillness, not in chaos, not in rushing, but in the calm after surrender. You've been taught to measure progress by movement. But what if standing still is where strength returns? What if breathing deep is where peace finds you again? What if sitting quietly is the loudest declaration of trust you'll ever make? God isn't in a hurry. He's in the healing. Right now, in this silence you didn't choose, He's doing what only heaven can, restoring what was drained, reviving what was fading, rebuilding what looked beyond repair. You want it instant. He's working eternal. He doesn't patch. He restores. He doesn't cover wounds. He heals deep. He doesn't rush you through grief. He walks with you through it. His word says, the Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus 14, verse 14. This stillness isn't weakness. It's warfare. The kind that confuses the enemy because you refuse to panic. The kind of quiet that makes hell nervous because you're learning how to trust again. Trust isn't loud. Faith doesn't always look brave. But standing in surrender is how victory sneaks in unnoticed. You thought God was silent, but He's been surrounding you in whispers you didn't yet know how to hear. Stay here, not because you're stuck, because you're growing, because roots take time beneath the soil where no one applauds, because what's planted deep withstands storms without crumbling. Stop apologizing for slow progress. Stop fearing what feels unseen. Stop doubting because others move faster. Your timeline is written by hands that hold eternity. Your healing is unfolding in rhythms older than time itself. Breathe, rest. Know this stillness is holy, not punishment, protection, not exile, preparation. You are learning strength isn't in striving, it's in surrender. It's in trusting that God's presence is enough. Even when answers aren't visible, He's here, He's working, He's closer than the silence suggests. Let His nearness reframe your fear. Let His presence untangle your anxiety. Let His peace rebuild your strength from the inside out. You're not waiting for life to begin. Life is beginning again, right here, right now, in this sacred quiet. Stay, be still. Let this silence make you strong again. Stop questioning if God grew tired of waiting on you. Stop asking if your silence scared Him away. Stop wondering if your weakness somehow disqualified you from love. Because tonight, heaven answers loud and clear. He never let go. Not for a moment. You thought your doubt distanced Him. You thought your tears pushed Him away. You thought your failure closed the door He opened. But what you didn't know was this. His grip never loosened. His gaze never shifted. His heart never changed. While you were wrestling, He was holding. While you were running, He was pursuing. While you were breaking, He was rebuilding in the unseen. He didn't require perfection to stay. He required only this, your heart willing to be held again. His word says, even to your old age and gray hairs, I am He. I am He who will sustain you. I have made you and I will carry you. Isaiah 46 verse 4. He's been carrying you far longer than you realized. Not because you asked perfectly, not because you perform consistently, because love doesn't leave, because promises don't expire, because grace doesn't run dry. You tried to fix it all on your own, tried to pray loud enough, long enough, right enough. But healing isn't earned, it's received. It's breathed in, it's wrapped in the arms of a God who refused to walk away. Stop punishing yourself for what you couldn't control. Stop replaying what hurt like you deserved it. Stop calling yourself abandoned when you've been carried every step. He's not finished. He's not done rewriting what fear tried to destroy. He's not done restoring what sorrow tried to steal. Right now, He speaks what you forgot how to believe. I am still here. I still hold you. I still call you mine. This isn't weakness. This is worship in its rawest form. Trusting you're loved even in pieces. Believing you're seen even when hiding. Knowing you're held even when falling. Stay here. Let Him finish what He started. Let Him prove again. His hands never slip. Your breakthrough wasn't delayed. It was being shaped in silence. Your healing wasn't denied. It was growing beneath the surface. Breathe deep. Exhale fear. Inhale grace. You've come further than you think. You've survived more than you know. You've been held tighter than you felt. Because God never let go. Stop doubting the reason you're still here. Stop questioning why breath keeps filling your lungs after all you've been through. Stop wondering if your story still matters. Because this is more than survival. This is sacred. This is proof. Proof that God finishes what He starts. Your nights of silence weren't wasted. Your prayers in the dark weren't ignored. Your tears didn't disappear into nothing. Heaven caught them all. Heaven counted every moment you thought you were forgotten. Heaven marked every breath you took when you thought you couldn't take another. You're here because God never stopped writing. Not when you doubted. Not when you fell. Not when you almost gave up. You thought endings defined you. But endings are just beginning in the hands of the one who speaks life into dust. His word says, He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus. Philippians 1 verse 6. Not halfway, not barely enough, but fully, completely, perfectly timed. The room you thought held only loneliness has become holy ground, because in the quiet, in the hidden, in the unseen, God rebuilt you, piece by piece, breath by breath, grace upon grace. What you thought was breaking was actually birthing something new. What you thought was lost has been found in Him. What you thought couldn't heal now beats stronger with His life. Stop measuring your worth by what hurt you. Start seeing your future through the eyes of the one who stayed. He stayed through your questions. He stayed through your silence. He stayed through your storms. Because he's not a God who leaves. He's a God who redeems. Right now, as you sit in this room, heaven declares this over you. You are still called. You are still chosen. You are still mine. Your story isn't small. Your pain wasn't pointless. Your healing is already rippling through generations you can't yet see. Stay here a moment longer. Let this truth settle deeper than fear. Let this presence anchor stronger than doubt. You've come too far to stop believing now. You've survived too much to surrender this close to the promise. Because this is it, the moment where sorrow loses, the moment where shame bows low, the moment where hope rises again. Heaven isn't just watching. Heaven is celebrating because you stayed, because you trusted, because you believed. One more breath, one more step, one more prayer mattered. And it did. It always did. It always will. Your new beginning doesn't wait for perfect circumstances. It begins now, here, in the sacred stillness where God whispers, "Well done, my child. I am with you. I go before you. I make all things new."